What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. It's a great day if your team traded for Juan Soto, so I'm pretty hyped up right now, but we're not going to talk about the San Diego Padres. We're here to talk about a team that is going to come back healthy and should be in the thick of contendership in the Western Conference, and that is the Denver Nuggets. Of course, we all know what happened to the Nuggets last year. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. did not play for most of the season in Michael Porter's case, and in Jamal Murray's case, did not play at all last year because he tore his ACL in the 2020-21 season. But now both guys are expected to come back, and that means it's the return of one of the dangerous offensive trios in the entire NBA. The Nuggets made some great signings, some great trades. Well, one not so great signing, which we will talk about later. But they bolstered their roster, they added more defensive pieces, and they also added some players that make sense offensively when you're talking about fitting around Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. I am very high on this team. I was high on this team when they traded for Aaron Gordon because I thought he tied everything together. But then, of course, the injury happened against the Golden State Warriors in the 2020-21 season. But now everything's back, everything is set, and they've added new pieces and more versatility, and I am super high on these Nuggets. I think they're in the thick of the Tier 1 contenders in the Western Conference with the Golden State Warriors, of course, and the Los Angeles Clippers. But in today's video, I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets, their hierarchy in the NBA, and the offseason they had because I really loved it. And I think they're going to be an awesome, awesome team and a contender. So as mentioned, I think the Nuggets had one of the better off seasons out of all the teams in the NBA, and it started with the trade with the Washington Wizards, sending out Will Barton and Monty Morris, who was an awesome backup point guard during his time in Denver, in exchange for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Ish Smith. But the highlight of the trade here is getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think this is a picture-perfect fit next to an offensive trio of Murray, Michael Porter, and of course Nikola Jokic. KCP doesn't require that many touches. He catches and shoots the ball quickly, makes all types of threes, catch and shoots off of screens. Even last year with the Wizards, he weirdly, at least what it felt like when watching him, he made a lot more tough threes at the end of a shot clock, a lot of bailout threes than he did in his time with the Lakers. But the point is, KCP has been a knockdown three-point shooter, especially the last 3 seasons. And the fact that he is a hound dog on the defensive end and is great at playing the passing lanes, that's just the perfect type of player you want to put next to this offensive trio, and mixed in with Aaron Gordon, who is also a fantastic, versatile, athletic defender. You have enough defensive pieces around there to insulate Murray, Porter, Jokic, and even though Jokic has become classify him as a good defender now, he still has his weaknesses and you want to insulate him as much as possible. So I definitely like this move for the Nuggets. And the Monty Morris piece of it is a tough pill to swallow for the Nuggets, but I think they're just banking in the fact that Bones Hyland is going to take on a bigger role. He was awesome, especially the last 2 months of the season. He's a unique offensive player. I'm a big fan of his game. Love Bones Hyland, and he could be taking a bigger role this year. And if he's not exactly ready right off the bat, Ish Smith is there as well. But I mean, sometimes that's the cost of doing business when you want to get a player like KCP that is a perfect glove fit next to your best players. And then sticking with the theme of somebody that's picture perfect to play off of Jokic, I mean, signing Bruce Brown in free agency was a great get for the Nuggets. Bruce Brown carved out a nice weird role as basically a 6'3" center with the Brooklyn Nets. He's an awesome cutter. He knows how to find the spaces and gaps whenever the stars collapse the defense, whenever great ball handlers, whenever good offensive players break down the defense. Bruce Brown is able to find the creases in those compromised defenses. And he's just another weird player to play off of Jokic. I'm already seeing like guard to center screen and roll action where Bruce Brown screens for Jokic and Jokic finds Bruce Brown cutting to the basket. Bruce Brown also on limited attempts, mind you, shot 40% from 3, but a lot of them were wide open corner threes, which I imagine he's going to get spoon-fed a lot of those playing off of Jokic. Murray, and Michael Porter Jr., who showed in the 2020-21 season that he could basically get 20 in his sleep, like effortlessly. I'm just really excited about these two players in particular fitting around the offensive trio that Denver has, because the offensive trio was already special, and you'll see the numbers up here. The trio of Michael Porter Jr., Murray, and Jokic put together great offensive stats. They were dominant, and the defensive rating was just good enough to where the offense was just so good. They were just blowing the doors off of lineups and teams. And now you're just adding two more guards that can guard wings, guard the quicker point guards. And that was kind of an issue for Denver last year as well, being able to contain wing players and guards, especially with all the injuries. I mean, upgrading with these two players, it's just a great offseason for Denver. Not a big fan of the Deandre Jordan signing for a lot of reasons. He's been bad for 5 years now. Really don't know what the thought process was there signing Deandre Jordan, but whatever. You could also be stealing very important Zeke Najee minutes just to play fucking Deandre Jordan. And then signing Davon Reed to a 2-year standard contract, he showed that he has the potential to be another perfect 3-and-D player playing off of their great offensive players. Limited attempts, but he shot 43% from 3. He's a hound dog on the defensive end and really displayed that while he was playing on a 2-way contract last year. So Davon Reed definitely has a chance to, be in the regular rotation next year, and the Nuggets definitely feel that way because they gave him a standard contract. And to cap off the offseason, I really don't need to mention it, but signing Nikola Jokic to the richest contract extension in NBA history is pretty important, but also a no-brainer decision. And the Nuggets have their guy locked up, and it looks like they have their roster set, but it's time to compete for a championship. But it also hinges on a couple of questions, mainly the health of Murray and Michael Porter Jr. We don't know how Murray is going to look right off the bat coming off of an ACL, but I mean, before the ACL injury, Murray was building off of his performance in the playoff bubble and building it into the next season. And the last 28 games leading up to that ACL injury in the 2020-21 season, Murray upped his production. He was playing like a damn all-star. And we all know the special chemistry him and Jokic have displayed over the years. And it's not just, oh, Jokic is a great player, anyone can play off of him. No, these two have a song and dance with each other. Murray cuts in certain ways where Jokic knows he's going to be there. Even Jamal Murray, when he runs pick and roll with Jokic and Murray is the ball handler, he has developed great chemistry with Jokic. If Jokic finds Murray cutting to the basket, Murray has become such an adept passer that he can make plays diving to the basket, receiving a pass from Jokic and collapsing the defense that way and then spraying it out to the perimeter. It's just a beautiful, beautiful chemistry, and it's kind of epitomizes some of the beautiful parts of basketball where two players just have a mind meld like that, and that's going to be really exciting to see again. And then Michael Porter Jr. is the bigger concern for me. I'm just apprehensive when somebody who moves like that and scores so effortlessly and has bounce like that. I just get a little queasy when someone has their third back surgery dating back to college. That's just not good, no matter how you look at it, no matter if you're a Nuggets fan, a hater, a neutral observer, whatever. That's just not good. And a healthy Michael Porter Jr. makes this Nuggets offense explosive, but I think a lot hinges on the health of Michael Porter Jr. Players have come back from ACL injuries before. I think Murray will be fine as the season wears on. Taking that little bit of extra time off and not playing last year at all, and giving yourself also this summer to get back to form, I'm actually a lot more optimistic about Murray showing that he can get back to the old form where he was just ascending before his injury. But Michael Porter Jr.'s injury, I am still concerned about. I know there was recent video of him playing in an open gym run, but I'm still just a little queasy about him playing professional basketball going full speed. But I mean, both of them healthy. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. There's a giant number of possessions now, giant number of games where it is clear the Murray, Jokic, MPJ offensive trio, it's just dynamite offensively, and you just got to put the right pieces surrounding that talent to make the team a contender. And I thought they did that when they traded for Aaron Gordon in the 2020-21 season, and that's what made the Murray injury such a bummer for me, because I was really high on that Denver Nuggets team. They kicked the Clippers' ass on national television that season, and I was just like, oh my God, this team could definitely come out of the West. And then boom, the injury happened, the second round exit happened, and then more injuries just started happening to the Nuggets this past season, and Jokic just put the team on his back. I still don't know how the Nuggets won 48 games. I know it's weird hearing a Sixer fan praising Jokic, but Jokic has, I made a video about him early last season. Jokic is one of my favorite players. No ill will towards Nuggets fans or Jokic fans, even though I'm going to roll with my guy, of course. But, the fact that Jokic carried that team to 48 wins is sensational, and got better off of his first MVP season, career high in points and 13 rebounds, over 13 rebounds, also a career high. It was just a ridiculous season from Jokic. And now that the offensive pieces are coming back and the pecking order, the chain of command is now back to normal with these two, with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray presumably coming back, Jokic doesn't have to take so much more burden. He can conserve his energy, because it looked like he was also gassed towards the end of the season, and especially in the series against the Warriors. And the Nuggets are just going to be a fucking juggernaut when it comes to the Western Conference, and that's why I have him in the tier 1 of contenders. In the very brief time that we saw Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, and Aaron Gordon together in the same lineup, that lineup was blowing the doors off of teams. Now, granted, there were some games where some teams did not have their best players in that stretch, but my God, getting Aaron Gordon as basically to be your fourth guy and tying everything else together. By the way, Aaron Gordon developed some great chemistry with Nikola Jokic this past season, and that's only going to bode well for when everybody comes back and they kind of know what to do. This team is just going to be destructive, and they're going to be better defensively because they added better defenders. I really don't expect much from Christian Braun and Peyton Watson, especially because it looks like their rotation is going to be 9 deep. You have Jeff Green coming off the bench, who is a fine player, but you could put him in a bunch of different lineups. He's a steady veteran. Jeff Green played a lot of important minutes for Denver last year. And then Bones Highland. I'm really excited for Bones Highland, because it's clear he is a very intelligent offensive player. He has a very unique game. He has great feel, too. He knows how to play off of players. If you noticed when the Nuggets brought on DeMarcus Cousins, who immediately formed a chemistry with DeMarcus Cousins in the bench unit, it was Bones Highland. And the last 2 months of the season, he took off. Still kind of pissed that he torched my Sixers in the fourth quarter, but hey, that's neither here nor there. I like Bones Highland. He has a funky game, and I expect him to contribute greatly, now especially that Monty Morris is in Washington now. Like, his last 2 months, 2.5 months of the season really just blasted him up the charts and put him in the all-rookie team. I thought he was awesome. There is just a lot of pieces on this Denver team, and I think it's all going to coalesce because it kind of permeates from their best player, who is unselfish and plays a selfless style of basketball that inspires everyone else to cut around Jokic. And I know that sounds like basketball mystical mumbo jumbo, but there is truth in playing with a player like a Jokic or one of the top players in the league that is just selfless and wants to make others better. Now, I still do have one question, and that's just me wanting to see how Michael Porter Jr. looks this upcoming season. But with a fully healthy Nuggets team, the additions that they made, and the ascension of Bones Highland taking another leap, the Denver Nuggets are a contender, full stop. And don't be surprised if you see them come out of the West next season.